I'm standing in my kitchen holding my phone when my son's message comes through at 7:30 on a Tuesday evening. The kitchen smells like the soup I'm making, tomato and basil, the kind Jacob used to ask for when he was small and sick with colds. My phone buzzes and I expect the usual quick hello or maybe a question about his father's old tools he wanted from the garage. Instead, the message reads, "Don't call me anymore. I'm busy with my life." No argument before this. No explanation. No context or conversation that led to this moment. Just a door slammed in text form, cold and final like he's canceling a subscription service instead of talking to his mother. I stare at the words until the screen goes dark, then I tap it awake and read them again, thinking maybe I misunderstood, maybe autocorrect changed something, maybe this was meant for someone else. But no. It's clear. It's deliberate. It's my son telling me to disappear from his life. I set the phone down carefully on the counter, turn off the stove, and sit down at the kitchen table where I used to help him with homework, where we used to eat breakfast together before school. What kind of son sends that to his own mother? What kind of person decides their parent isn't worth basic courtesy or a phone call to explain? I sit there breathing slowly, feeling something crack and harden simultaneously in my chest, and then I pick up my phone, open his contact, and delete his number completely. My name is Carol Bennett. I'm 56 years old, and I raised my son Jacob alone after his father died when Jacob was 9. Heart attack, sudden, no warning, and I became a widow at 33 with a child who needed everything. I worked 2 jobs for years, receptionist during the day and waitress 3 nights a week, coming home exhausted to help with homework and pack lunches and pretend everything was fine. I skipped meals so Jacob wouldn't have to, wore the same winter coat for 8 years, drove a car held together with hope and duct tape. I never asked him for money after he graduated and got his good job at the engineering firm. Never asked for favors or help around my house or his time beyond occasional visits. Never demanded loyalty or gratitude or anything except basic connection, just calls to know he was alive and well. And now this. Don't call me anymore. I sit at my table breathing once, twice, 3 times, letting the shock settle into something else, something colder and clearer. Then I delete his number from my phone completely, erasing it so I can't call him in a weak moment, so I can't reach out and beg for explanations. What happens when a mother stops chasing? What happens when the person who always pursued finally stops running? Days pass, then weeks, and the silence is complete. No calls from Jacob checking if I'm okay. No texts asking why I haven't reached out. No concern about the sudden absence of his mother from his life. I realize something chilling as I go through my routine, grocery shopping and book club and volunteer work at the library. The silence doesn't hurt him at all. He meant what he said. He wanted me gone, and now that I'm gone, he's perfectly fine. I'm not grieving a mutual loss. I'm mourning alone while he lives his life unbothered by my absence. I think about his wedding 3 years ago, how his wife Paula stood beside him, looking perfect and controlled, how her mother Doreen sat in the front row like she was the one who raised him, how Paula kept rearranging the schedule without asking me, how Jacob just went along with everything they decided. I think about the last family dinner 6 months ago, how Paula corrected me when I mentioned a story from Jacob's childhood, how Doreen smiled knowingly like I was some confused old woman who couldn't remember her own life accurately, who filled the space I used to occupy in my son's world, who convinced him his mother was disposable. I think back more carefully to that last family dinner in October, replaying details I dismissed at the time because I wanted to keep peace, wanted to maintain connection, wanted to be the easy, pleasant mother-in-law who didn't cause problems. We were sitting in their dining room, the house I'd helped with the down payment for, though they never mentioned that. Paula was talking about her promotion at work, her marketing director position, and I mentioned being proud of Jacob's own career success, how hard he'd worked to become a senior engineer. Paula cut me off mid-sentence. Actually, Carol, Jacob's success is really about both of us supporting each other's goals. It's a partnership. The way she said actually felt like correction, like I was wrong to credit my own son for his achievements. Doreen, Paula's mother, smiled from across the table and added, "That's what modern marriage looks like, Carol. Maybe different from your generation. Jacob sat quietly between them, nodding along, not defending me or clarifying or acknowledging that I'd raised him alone and put him through college. Just nodding. When did my son stop being mine? When did he become someone who lets his wife and mother-in-law diminish his actual mother at her own family dinner? I overhear the truth 3 weeks after Jacob's text through a mutual friend named Barbara who goes to the same church as Doreen. Barbara calls me concerned, asking if everything's okay between Jacob and me, and when I ask why she's asking, she hesitates. Then she tells me what she's been hearing through Doreen's circle. Apparently, I'm being described as overbearing and emotionally unstable, as someone who put too much pressure on Jacob growing up, who made him responsible for my happiness after his father died, who can't accept that he has his own life now. Overbearing. Me. The woman who worked 2 jobs and never asked for anything. Who encouraged Jacob to take the job 3 states away because it was good for his career even though it meant seeing him less. Who supported his relationship with Paula even when I noticed how controlling she was. Emotionally unstable. Me. The woman who held everything together after my husband died, who kept our house and paid our bills and made sure Jacob never felt the financial stress, who smiled through every struggle so he wouldn't worry. I barely recognize the woman they're talking about. She sounds like a villain from a dramatic movie, not a mother who sacrificed everything. Why are they trying to erase me? What purpose does it serve to rewrite my history with my own son? I sit down with my financial records, something I haven't reviewed carefully in years, because I just handled things as they came up. I spread out bank statements and credit card bills and receipts I've kept, and I start adding up numbers. $5,000 for Jacob and Paula's wedding. Money I'd saved for years, that they said they'd pay back but never did. $3,000 for the down payment on their house, a loan that was never mentioned again. 18 months of free childcare for their daughter Emma, 3 days a week while Paula built her career, gas money and meals and supplies I provided without asking for reimbursement. Emergency car repair last year. $800 when Jacob's transmission failed and he didn't have savings. Birthday gifts, Christmas presents, random grocery runs when they were tight on money. I realize something important as I look at the numbers. I've quietly supported them for years, filling gaps they never thanked me for, providing safety nets they came to expect as their right rather than my gift. Thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours, constant availability for problems and emergencies, and they thanked me by calling me overbearing behind my back and telling me to stop calling. What happens when the help stops? What happens when the bank of mom closes permanently? I stop sending the monthly birthday checks, the $50 I've been mailing to Emma every month since she was born. I cancel the shared streaming plan I've been paying for that Jacob and Paula use constantly. I don't announce these changes or send explanatory emails or make dramatic statements. Just quiet actions, simple stops. I keep my routines normal otherwise. Book club on Thursdays, volunteer shifts at the library on Tuesdays and Saturdays, coffee with Barbara and my other actual friends who don't talk about me behind my back. My house feels quieter, but also cleaner somehow, like removing clutter I didn't know was weighing me down. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt in the sharp way I was those first few days. I'm just done. Done providing for people who see me as a problem. Done making myself available to people who want me gone. Done being the mother who keeps trying while her son keeps pulling away. Nothing dramatic, just boundaries forming quietly, naturally, like skin healing over a wound. Will they even notice these small changes? Will they care that I'm no longer their safety net? 3 weeks after I cancel the streaming service and skip Emma's birthday check, my son emails instead of calling. The subject line reads, "Checking in," like we're colleagues maintaining professional contact. The message is short, polite, almost confused in its tone. "Hi Mom, haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything okay? Emma's birthday check didn't come this month, and the streaming service says our account was canceled. Just wanted to make sure nothing's wrong. Let me know if you need anything. Jacob." I read it 3 times. He noticed the money and the service. He didn't notice my silence, didn't register that I stopped calling, didn't wonder why his mother, who used to check in twice a week, disappeared completely from his life. He noticed when the benefits stopped. Paula's tone is unmistakable behind the words, even though Jacob sent it. That careful politeness that masks irritation, that just wanted to make sure, that really means, why did you change things without permission? Why now? Why does he care about contact now when he told me not to call anymore? I leave the email unanswered for 2 days, then 3, then a week, and no follow-up comes. One email asking about money, then silence again when I don't respond. That tells me everything I need to know. Barbara calls me in the evening and asks if she can share something she's uncomfortable about, something she's been hearing through Doreen's social circle. I tell her yes, that I'd rather know the truth than stay comfortable in ignorance. Barbara explains that Paula's mother, Doreen, has been telling people at church and in their women's group that I'm bitter and jealous of Jacob and Paula's marriage, that I can't accept my son has a wife now, that I'm trying to come between them with guilt and manipulation. Doreen has been the spokesperson for this narrative, the one spreading the story, positioning herself as the wise mother-in-law who knows how to respect boundaries, while I'm painted as the difficult one who doesn't. Doreen has always liked playing gatekeeper, I realize now. She loved being the one who knew everything about Jacob and Paula's lives, the one they confided in, the one whose advice they followed. She positioned herself as the good mother while positioning me as the problem. And Jacob and Paula went along with it because it made their lives easier, because it gave them permission to push me away. What else has she been controlling? What other narratives has she shaped about me that I don't even know about? I review my finances more carefully, thinking about future planning instead of past spending. The house I own outright paid off 3 years ago after 30 years of mortgage payments, worth about $320,000 in the current market. The savings account with $48,000, money I've been accumulating slowly for retirement. The small life insurance policy worth $75,000 meant for Jacob one day as security for him and Emma. The retirement account with $90,000 that I haven't touched. All of it, in my mind for years, was ultimately for Jacob's benefit, for his inheritance, for making sure he'd be okay after I'm gone. I realize how much power I gave away without ever noticing, how much of my present I sacrificed for his future, how much I structured my entire financial life around eventually leaving everything to a son who told me not to call him anymore. What happens if I take that power back? What happens if I stop living like my only purpose is being someone's eventual inheritance? What happens if I use my own money for my own life and let Jacob and Paula figure out their own security? The thought feels radical and obvious simultaneously. I meet with an attorney named Mr. Holloway the following Tuesday morning. His office is quiet and professional, law books lining the walls, and I explain my situation calmly without drama or emotion. I want to restructure my will and my financial planning. I want to ensure my assets go to causes and people who show up in my life, who value my presence, who don't see me as just an inheritance waiting to happen. Mr. Holloway listens carefully, takes notes, asks clarifying questions. I tell him about Jacob's text, about being cut off, about realizing my son sees me as a burden while expecting my money eventually. Mr. Holloway nods like he's heard this before. We spend 2 hours reviewing options. I establish that Jacob will receive $10,000 as acknowledgement that he's my son, but the rest will be divided between the local library where I volunteer, a scholarship fund for single mothers, and my niece Hannah, who checks on me weekly and actually cares how I'm doing. Everything is legal, responsible, transparently documented. No drama, no revenge, just recognition of reality. Who notices the change first? I'm curious to see how long it takes before they discover I'm not their retirement plan anymore. My son finally calls 2 months after his "don't call me anymore" text, exactly 1 week after I meet with Mr. Holloway. His voice on the phone sounds different, uncertain in a way I haven't heard since he was young. "Mom? Hi. I know it's been a while. I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. You haven't been reaching out much lately, and I guess I'm wondering if everything's okay between us." I let the silence stretch for a moment. Everything's okay between us? He told me to stop calling. He disappeared from my life. He let his wife and mother-in-law spread rumors about me. And now he's wondering if everything's okay? I'm fine, Jacob, I say calmly, just busy with my life. I hear him process those words, his own words reflected back. Mom, I didn't mean. I was just stressed when I sent that text. Work was crazy, and Paula was dealing with her own stuff, and I just needed some space. Space. Not an apology, not acknowledgement of how cruel that text was, just an explanation that excuses everything. Why? Did you pull away? He asks, and I almost laugh. Does he even hear himself? Does he understand that I pulled away because he pushed me away? That I'm just following his instructions? I don't yell at Jacob. I don't cry or guilt trip or list all my sacrifices like ammunition. I simply repeat his words back to him calmly, letting them hang in the air between us. Don't call me anymore. I'm busy with my life. Silence fills the phone line, long and heavy. I can hear him breathing, hear background noise from his house, hear the moment he realizes I'm not going to take those words back or soften them. Mom, that's not fair, he says finally, voice tight. That was months ago. I was stressed. You can't just throw my words back at me like that. Why not? I ask. You meant them when you sent them. I'm just respecting your wishes. You wanted space. You have space. You wanted me to stop calling. I stopped. I'm doing exactly what you asked. That's not what I meant, he says, frustrated now. I just needed you to give me some room to breathe. And now you have it, I reply. All the room you need. I hear Paula's voice in the background asking who he's talking to, and Jacob mutters something I can't hear. Then he says, can we just move past this? Can we get back to normal? Normal. Like normal was good for me. Like normal wasn't me giving constantly while being disrespected. Who taught him that tone, that expectation that I'll just forget and forgive without anything changing? Paula calls the next evening, her voice carefully controlled with that professional tone she uses at work, pleasant on the surface, but steel underneath. Carol, hi. Jacob told me you two talked yesterday. I wanted to reach out myself because I think there's been some misunderstanding between all of us. Some misunderstanding. That's what she's calling this. I'm listening, I say neutrally. Paula continues in her practiced way. I know you felt hurt by Jacob's text, and I understand that, but you have to understand, we've been under a lot of pressure. My work schedule, Jacob's projects, raising Emma. Sometimes we need space to focus on our immediate family without feeling guilty about not calling enough. Our immediate family. The words are careful, but the meaning is clear. I'm not part of that immediate family. I'm extended, optional, peripheral. I think we all just need to move forward with better boundaries, Paula continues. Family harmony is important, especially for Emma. We don't want her growing up with tension. I notice she doesn't apologize. She doesn't acknowledge that Jacob's text was cruel or that they've been taking my help for granted. She just wants harmony, which means me going back to being useful without being inconvenient. Forward on whose terms? Forward where I accept being pushed away and pulled back whenever they need something? Doreen contacts me directly 3 days later, and all pretense of politeness is gone. She calls my cell phone at 8 in the morning, her voice sharp and accusatory from the first word. Carol, this is Doreen. We need to talk about your behavior toward Jacob and Paula. I don't know what you think you're accomplishing by playing these games, but it needs to stop. Games. She calls my boundaries games. I'm not playing games, Doreen, I say calmly. I'm simply respecting Jacob's request that I not call him anymore. Don't be dramatic, she snaps. Jacob was having a bad day. You're his mother. You're supposed to be mature enough to understand that and not punish him for one text message. Punish him. She thinks I'm punishing my son by not chasing him after he pushed me away. I'm being selfish, Doreen continues, warming to her lecture. Jacob needs family support, especially with everything he and Paula are dealing with. You're his mother. You're supposed to be there for him unconditionally. Unconditionally. The word that means I give everything and accept nothing. The word that means I have no right to boundaries or dignity or respect. What does she think I owe them? My money, my time, my presence whenever convenient, my silence when I'm insulted? What does unconditional mean in Doreen's world except my complete surrender? I discover the truth accidentally through my niece Hannah, who remains close with Emma despite the family tension. Hannah stops by for coffee on a Saturday morning, and while we're talking about Emma's upcoming school play, she mentions something casually that makes my blood go cold. Emma told me she's excited about the big house they're going to move to eventually, the one with the extra bedrooms. I ask what she means, and Hannah explains, looking uncomfortable now. I probably shouldn't say anything, but Emma mentioned Paula and Jacob talking about how they'll eventually move to a bigger place, maybe your house after you're gone or something. My house. I sit very still, coffee cup frozen halfway to my mouth. Emma said that? Hannah nods. She didn't understand the full context, obviously. She just knew her parents were planning for a bigger house someday, and she thought it was exciting. I realize Paula and Jacob were counting on my house as their future fallback, quietly, casually, confidently. They'd been making plans around my death, around inheriting my property, probably discussing it at their dinner table while Emma colored pictures nearby. What happens when that safety net disappears? What happens when they realize the house they're counting on is going to the library instead? I send one letter, old-fashioned paper and envelope mailed to their house, because I want it to be formal and documented and clear. The letter is calm, respectful, completely free of accusations or emotional manipulation. I write it carefully, revising 3 times before the final version. Jacob and Paula. After reflection on our recent interactions and Jacob's request that I not call anymore, I've decided to honor that wish while also establishing clear boundaries for my own well-being. Going forward, contact between us will happen only on terms of mutual respect. I will no longer provide financial support, childcare, or emergency assistance unless explicitly agreed upon in advance. I will not attend family events where I'm treated as peripheral or where my history with Jacob is minimized. I love my son, my daughter-in-law, and my granddaughter. But love cannot exist in a relationship built on taking without giving, on presence without respect. If you wish to have a relationship with me, it will be as equals, not as someone you turn to only when convenient. These boundaries are not negotiable or temporary. They are permanent unless and until genuine change happens. With care, Carol. Do they respect anything they can't control? Will they understand these are boundaries, not punishments? The tone shifts immediately and dramatically. Within 3 days of receiving my letter, I get multiple texts from Jacob, increasingly urgent. Mom, we need to talk about your letter. Then, Paul and I are concerned about you. Then, can we please just sit down and work this out? Suddenly I'm missed. Suddenly I matter. Suddenly my absence is inconvenient instead of the relief Jacob claimed he needed. Paula leaves a voicemail, her professional tone cracking slightly. Carol, I think we've all been under stress and maybe some things were said that we didn't mean. I'd really like to clear the air because Emma asks about you and it's hard to explain why you're not around. Emma asks about me. Not they miss me, but Emma asks, making it about their inconvenience rather than genuine care. Doreen texts, surprisingly conciliatory. Carol, I may have been too harsh when we last spoke. Perhaps we should all get together and discuss this as adults. Is this love or loss of access? Is this actual recognition of my value or panic that their safety net and their backup plans are disappearing? I don't respond to any of them immediately. Let them feel the silence I felt. My son shows up at my door on a Sunday afternoon 3 weeks after my letter. I see his car pull up through my front window and I consider not answering, but curiosity wins. I open the door and he stands there looking tired, older somehow, apologetic in his expression. Mom, can we talk, please? I let him in and we sit in my living room, the same living room where he grew up, where I helped him with school projects and comforted him after nightmares and celebrated his achievements. He talks for 20 minutes, words tumbling out about stress and influence and misunderstanding. He says Paula has been dealing with pressure from her mother, that Doreen has opinions about everything, that it's been hard balancing everyone's expectations. He says he didn't mean the text the way it sounded, that he loves me, that he wants things to go back to how they were. But he never says accountability. He never says I was wrong to send that text. He never says I should have defended you. He never says I took you for granted. Just explanations and excuses and vague references to stress. Does he mean it? Does he actually want a relationship with me? Or does he want the benefits I provided back in place? I look at my son. This man I raised alone. This person I sacrificed everything for, and I say what I should have said months ago. Jacob, I love you. I will always love you because you're my son, and that doesn't change. But love doesn't mean tolerance anymore. Not for me. Not after what's happened. He starts to interrupt, and I hold up my hand. You told me not to call you. You let Paula and Doreen talk about me disrespectfully. You've taken my help for years without acknowledgement. You've made plans around inheriting my house without considering that I'm a person with my own life, not just your future inheritance. That's not a relationship. That's using someone. Mom, that's not fair, he says, but his voice is weak. It's accurate, I reply calmly. And going forward, if you want a relationship with me, it has to be genuine. Not because you need childcare or money or a backup plan, because you actually value me as a person. Can you accept that? Can you accept a relationship where you don't control everything, where I have boundaries you have to respect, where I'm not just available whenever convenient? He sits there looking uncomfortable, looking like he wants to argue but can't find the words. Can he accept it? I genuinely don't know. For about 6 weeks, things seem calmer. Jacob calls once a week, brief conversations about work and weather and Emma's school activities. Paula sends occasional friendly texts with photos of Emma. Doreen stays quiet, which I interpret as strategic rather than sincere. I almost believe it's over, that my boundaries worked, that we've found some new equilibrium where I'm respected instead of used. Almost. But I notice small things that don't quite fit. Questions about my health that feel like assessments rather than concern. Comments about retirement planning that seem like fishing for information. Paula asking casually if I've gotten my affairs in order since I'm getting older now, framing it as practical concern. I catch Jacob looking around my house during visits like he's inventorying, noticing what furniture is valuable, what might be worth keeping. These are small observations, possibly my imagination, possibly my suspicion, coloring innocent interactions, but probably not. Probably these are signs that nothing has actually changed beneath the surface, that they're just waiting for me to relax my guard. The slip happens on a Tuesday evening when Paula and Jacob bring Emma over for dinner. We're sitting at my kitchen table eating the chicken and rice I made, and Emma is talking about wanting a puppy someday. Paula laughs and says, well, maybe when we have more space, when we move to the bigger house. Jacob shoots her a look, quick and warning, but I catch it. What bigger house? I ask casually, though my heart is beating faster. Paula recovers smoothly. Oh, just planning for the future. We'd eventually like to upgrade from where we are now, maybe in a few years. Where were you thinking? I press gently. Paula glances at Jacob, and in that glance I see everything. They're still planning, still assuming, still counting on my death and my property as their future security. We haven't decided anything specific, Jacob says quickly. Just long-term ideas. But Paula adds, almost automatically before catching herself, well, obviously we'd want to stay in this neighborhood. It's perfect for Emma's school district. This neighborhood, my house. The slip confirms nothing has actually changed. They're just being more careful now, more patient, waiting for me to die so they can move into my life after I'm gone. What are they still planning that I don't know about? I finalize everything the following week with Mr. Holloway. We review all documents one more time, make sure every detail is perfect and legally sound and completely clear. The will is signed and witnessed properly. The house will go to the public library with the condition they use it for community programming. The bulk of my savings will fund the scholarship for single mothers, helping women like I was when Jacob's father died. My retirement accounts will be split between Hannah and 2 other people who've shown genuine care over the years. Jacob gets $10,000 and a letter explaining why, explaining that I loved him but couldn't reward behavior that treated me as disposable. My life insurance policy is changed to name Hannah as beneficiary. Everything is documented, filed, copies stored in multiple locations. No confrontation, no dramatic announcements, just certainty and peace. I arrange for long-term care insurance so I won't be a burden on anyone. I organize my house and my paperwork so everything will be easy for Hannah to handle when the time comes. When will Jacob and Paula find out? When I'm gone and the will is read and they discover their plans were built on assumptions that weren't real. they find out too late, much sooner than expected. Because Barbara accidentally mentions something to Doreen about the library dedication ceremony, about how generous my planned gift is, and Doreen immediately calls Jacob, and Jacob calls me furious. Mom, what the hell is this about giving your house to the library? Barbara told Paula's mom you're leaving everything away from family. That's insane. That's my inheritance you're giving away. His inheritance, not my property, not my choice. His inheritance. It's my house, Jacob, I say calmly. My money. My decision about what happens to it. You're punishing me, he shouts. You're bitter and you're punishing your own son because we needed space. Paula is yelling in the background. Jacob continues. After everything we did for you, after we included you in Emma's life, this is how you repay us? Everything they did for me, including me in Emma's life like it was a favor instead of a right. Repaying them for what exactly? For tolerating my existence? The anger is loud and ugly. The accusations come fast. Doreen calls me later saying I'm destroying my family, that I'm a selfish, bitter woman who will die alone. But there's nothing to undo. The documents are signed. The decisions are made. Do I regret it? Not even slightly. I sit in my quiet house on a Thursday evening, phone face down on the table untouched, my life steady and peaceful for the first time in years. Book club this afternoon was lovely, discussing a novel about resilience and new beginnings. Tomorrow I volunteer at the library, reading to children who actually enjoy my company. This weekend, Hannah and I are driving to the coast for a small vacation, something I haven't done in decades because I was always saving money for Jacob's future instead of my present. I didn't punish anyone. I simply stopped enabling people who mistook access for entitlement, who confused my availability with my obligation, who treated my love like an unlimited resource they could drain without replenishment. Jacob sends occasional bitter texts that I don't answer. Paula tried showing up once, but I didn't open the door. Doreen spread more rumors, but I don't care what her circle thinks about me anymore. Emma will grow up hearing some version of this story, probably one where I'm the villain, and that makes me sad. But I can't control their narrative. I can only control my truth. I didn't lose a son. I lost the illusion that love meant surrender, that being a mother meant accepting disrespect, that family was worth any price, including my dignity. And for the first time in years, sitting in my quiet house with my peaceful life surrounding me, I finally feel free.